What's going on, guys? We are going to talk about tonight returning to Olympic lifting after a tendonitis. And guys, this follows any type of tendonitis you might have. Typically, we're going to be talking about knee tendonitis, in specific patellar or quad tendonitis. And I am Dr. Corey Hoffner. I'm a physical therapist and a strength and conditioning coach. And if you want to find out more information about me, stay tuned at the end, and we'll just give you a little bit of background information if you're new to the group, new to the YouTube channel. If you are new, like and subscribe. We really appreciate you guys sticking around and watching these. We're going to go over a 4-day progression, starting with Olympic lifting, and then things mixed in between. This is going to give you a routine bulletproof approach to get back to Olympic lifting without suffering from your knee tendonitis issue. So I want to say, first and foremost, cleans and snatches are the most aggravating movements you're going to possibly do typically when you're returning to Olympic lifting. So you usually want to save the cleans and snatches for the end of when your recovery is feeling a little bit better, when your pain level is at a 3 out of 10, where it's on the lower end compared to a 10 out of 10. So day one, Olympic lifting, right? Typically you're going to try it, you're going to see if it hurts. If it really bothers you, what you're going to do is you're going to progress to day two. So day two instead is just going to be isometric exercise. So what is isometric exercise? It's a form of active rest. Isometrics are where your joints aren't moving through a physical range of motion. Your joints just are staying locked in place through partial range, and you're holding, actively shortening the muscle, right? So if you were doing an isometric for your biceps, you would do half of a bicep curl, right? Instead of going all the way up to here, you would come to here and you would hold it in place against some type of resistance, like a band or a dumbbell, anything like that. And this is really beneficial for any type of knee tendonitis because it's going to help reduce pain for up to 45 minutes after you do it, right? So that means you should do it before you actually do your Olympic lifting, because it's going to help make you pain-free for that 45 to 60-minute window. And that's not based on me, that's based on research, and I've used it and it's worked really well in the clinic and in gyms and boxes with different athletes in here and there. All right, so the most important thing in day two in isometric exercise, guys, is you want to find a load that contracts your muscles, mainly your quads, if it's quad or patellar tendonitis, at 70% of its max capabilities. All right, so how do you find 70%? You can find your 1 rep max and take a little bit of weight off of that, or you can just pick something that's really, really hard and difficult to hold for about 45 seconds in total, right? Because what's recommended based on the research is that you pick, 2 exercises to focus on. One's a wall sit hold, so sitting with your back flat and your head against the wall with your knees bent to 90 degrees and really just holding it for 45 seconds and doing it for a total of 5 times and doing that 2 to 3 times a day. Exercise number 1. Exercise number 2, based on the research study, is Spanish squats. Spanish squats are very, very similar to wall sit. You can pick one or the other. Just a band around both knees, pulling wrapped around a rig. It just keeps you more upright to get more quad engagement, patellar tendon engagement while you're doing the squat, and you're holding it at the bottom for 45 seconds, right? So that's 2 to 3 times a day for both of those. You're going to just strengthen up the quad muscles, strengthen up the tendons, and the tendons need load if they have tendonitis, especially if you're going to load them aggressively and start doing plyometrics. How do you progress those? You can move from a wall sit with 2 legs to a wall sit with 1 leg. So 1 leg can be off the ground as you do it. That makes it a little more difficult. When you progress Spanish squats, you can do the same thing, right? Spanish squat, you can do 1-legged, but that's really hard. It's like a pistol squat. It might be too aggressive too soon. So instead, what you can do is you can add a weight. You can hold a kettlebell here as you do it, like a goblet squat. That's a nice, easy way to do it. All right, so that's day 2, right? When it's really aggravated, when you're at a pain level of above a 3 out of 10, so if you're at like a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 out of 10, you want to start with isometrics first. And then what you want to do is then when everything feels a lot better, you progress to day 3. Okay, day 3 is heavy and slow resistance. That just means it's an isotonic movement, meaning you're going to go through a full concentric range of motion and a full eccentric range of motion. So when your pain lowers to a 3 out of 10, right, that's a magical number here based on the research, and you're able to do day-to-day functions with a pain level of a 3 or less, then you can actually go into those heavy, slow resistance exercises. So what does that mean for quad or patellar tendonitis? It means you want to do one of these 3 exercises I'm going to explain in a second. You can do 3 sets of 15 reps twice a day on these. Okay, number 1 is Bulgarian split squats. So your leg up on a stool behind you or a bench, 1 leg in front of you, keeping your trunk nice and upright, just doing normal repetitions all the way through a full range of motion. Okay, that's the best way to strengthen those muscles if you can tolerate it. Number 2 is a box squat. So you can use a barbell on your back. You can use holding a kettlebell. Doesn't matter, as long as your trunk stays nice and upright and you don't spend a lot of time when you are sitting on that box. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3 is decline board single leg squats. So you don't need to buy a decline board, they're 50 or 60 bucks. You can just make your own at home. You can use any type of like ramp or slope you have, and you would put your foot on that ramp or slope, and you're going to kind of do it that way because it's going to engage more of your quads and take your calf out of the movement in your ankles. Especially if you have stiff ankles, this is a great one to do, and you're going to just put all the weight on one leg and do a modified pistol squat with your leg on that kind of decline. Like, you can use a hill too, right? Curb, anything like that. Right. The most important thing here, guys, though, is that you need to progress these things, right? So you need to do 3 sets of 15 2 times a day, and then progress it to 3 sets of 12, 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 6. Okay. And all that means is you're increasing the weight every 2 to 3 weeks. If you're increasing the weight, it's going to mean that your tendons are going to get stronger and more resilient, so they're going to actually heal themselves. Everyone gets in this kind of mindset of like, I need to stretch with my tendons all the time when I have tendonitis. And stretching can actually make it worse in the long term, right? A lot of times the tendons don't need to be stretched and that irritates them. Instead, what they need to be is they need to be strengthened. They need to be loaded, but they need to be loaded sequentially in specific order. And that's why we're going through this 4-day progression. Okay, so that's day 3. And then day 4, you go back to Olympic lifting, right? So let's take like a normal week, for example. So day 1, right, we said you can do Olympic lifting. So that's Monday, right? Day 4, you're going to do Olympic lifting again. But on day 2 and day 3, those days intermits between, right? You're going to do isometric exercise first. Then if you don't have a lot of soreness and you recover quickly, then you're going to move on to the next one, which is day 3, where you're going to be doing some heavy, slow resistance training. Okay, and you're going to do these in trial periods of 2 to 3 weeks. If you feel really good and you have no pain after that, and you do your 2 to 3 weeks without any issues, then you can go back to Olympic lifting full time. Right? I don't recommend you do it every day unless you're training for a competition or something like that. But that should give you like a good idea of kind of what to do and kind of what progress to follow as you kind of go through these things. All right, if you have any questions or anything about specifically like quad or patellar tendonitis or any other tendonitis type of issue, like maybe tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, rotator cuff tendonitis at your shoulder, let me know. Post down in the comments below. I'd be happy to send you some research, some information, answer some questions for you. Check out our Beacons page, guys, which I'm going to link down below in the comments. And like and subscribe to our channel. We had started about 5 or 6 weeks ago. We have videos coming out every week. And we do mobility screens as well. So if you're interested, we do mobility screens online, and we kind of look from head to toe and we break those things down, help you fix your issues. We'll also look at kind of weaknesses and help fix your strength deficits as well. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, please list them down below, and we will see you next week.